Good evening. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes and think back to your own childhood. Think about when you were 17 to 18. What do you remember? Maybe the first day of school, maybe a family vacation, or the simple safety of your own home. But now imagine that you were a child where every one of those moments is overshadowed by relentless sounds of shelling, fears of displacement, and the crushing loss of a community. The topic I am focused on today is the devastating long-term impacts of war-related post-traumatic stress disorders, so PTSD, specifically on the development of the trajectory in the middle girls in the middle. The topic I am focused on today is the devastating long-term impacts of war-related post-traumatic disorders, so PTSD, specifically on the development of the trajectory of the girls in the Middle East, a group often overlooked in crisis response. We tend to focus on the immediate survival but stay silent. We tend to focus on the immediate survival, but the silent, unseen damage is often the most tragic. The disruption of a child's fundamental right to develop, to learn, to connect, to feel secure. This isn't just a humanitarian crisis. This is a global crisis impacting the future of a generation. The topic I will be focusing on today is the devastating long-term impacts of war-related post-traumatic disorders, so PTSD, specifically on the development and the trajectory of girls in the Middle East, a group often overlooked in crisis response. We tend to focus on the immediate survival, but the silent, unseen damages is often the most tragic. The disruption of a child's fundamental rights to develop, to learn, to connect, to feel secure. This isn't just a humanitarian crisis. This is a global health crisis impacting the future of a generation. But when the environment is constantly hostile, the brain is perpetually stuck in a state of hypervigilance. They are no longer learning how to manage emotions, they are learning how to survive. This disrupts their ability to establish a secure attachment to others. Breaking down emotional security. The invisible battlefield of trauma is waged first on a child's sense of emotional security. Developmental children and adolescents should be learning how to regulate stress, trust their caregivers, and navigate social relationships. But when the environment is always hostile, the brain is perpetually stuck in a state of hypervigilance. They are no longer learning how to manage emotions. They are learning how to survive. This disrupts their ability to establish a secure attachment to others. Data and source integration research clearly connects the war exposure to clinical outcomes. For example, a study done by Tabith Taiwan and Al-Sarraj in 2008 found significant levels of PTSD not in only children, but their parents also in conflict zones. When parents are also living with PTSD, they struggle to provide an emotional buffer and regular support children desperately need. This results in a circle where children's emotional growth and their capacity to calm and self-control their critical delay is. The constant state of fear leads to difficulties with emotional regulation. The social withdrawals, particularly among adolescent girls who may lack safe, supportive spaces outside of the home. This is a profound problem. Because these children often appear outwardly strong, yet they are struggling with intense internal struggles. We must recognize this resilience of a person coping with trauma, but also acknowledge that survival mechanisms are not the same as healthy development. Their emotional defense are high, but their fundamental security is low. This connection is powerfully documented. Hazard and Gerdbach 2023 discussed the effect of war displacement. The trauma on children's development highlighted that severe trauma exposure can manifest as measurable cognitive and social skill delay. We see the impact of language acquisition, long-term memory formation, and the ability to process complex information for girls aged 7 to 18. This means falling further behind in school, struggling to articulate complex thoughts, and having difficulty forming reciprocal friendships. Their cognitive function is literally impaired by their environment. Furthermore, the trauma experienced in groups displacement, loss, impaired social development. If trust has been repeatedly broken, it becomes incredibly challenging to form secure social bonds necessary for healthy adolescent life. They struggle with basic social skills because they are primarily focused on remain survival, not connection. This emphasizes why we must use language that focuses on the person's experience, trauma-related memory, challenging, not a simple. This emphasizes why we must use language to focus on a person's experience, trauma-related memory changes, not simply to damage, not to a damaged brain. Returned. Furthermore, trauma experienced in groups, displacement, loss, impaired social development. If a trust has been repeatedly broken, it becomes incredibly challenging to form secure social bonds necessary for healthy adolescent life. They struggle with basic social skills because their primarily focus remains on survival, not on connection. This emphasizes why we must use language that focuses on a person's experience, trauma related memory changes, not simply on damaged brains. Not simply a quote, damaged brain. We have seen that war related PTSD is a relentless drive of developmental delays, eroding both emotional security and cognitive capacity for girls in high conflict areas in the Middle East. The challenge is immense, but the opportunity to structure interventions is equally powerful. The path to recovery, a SMART goal. We must commit to a structured evidence based support. We need a two-pronged approach. Moving from short-term coping to long-term wellness. Short-term goal. Let's say 3 months. We need immediate relief through programs like Therapeutic Adventure, according to Bettman, 2019. These adventure programs show promise to challenge psychiatric symptoms and improve psychological processes. The goal is to implement this for 4 consecutive weeks. This provides immediate coping skills and emotional stability. Long-term goal, let's say a year. Recovery is a marathon. We must work with mental health professionals to develop and maintain a personalized 1-year wellness plan. This plan needs to be specific, measurable, and time-bound. Focus on therapy, physical activity, and healthy social habits to support the cognitive health and continued emotional healing. Our responsibility is not to count the casualties of war, but to invest in the potential survivors. By focusing on the developmental health, using respectful language, and implementing structured long-term support, we give these survivors the chance not to recover, but to flourish. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this.